So the meeting will come to order. My name is Mary Jiang, and I'm the president of the Oakland Rotary Club. Made up of nearly 270 people, the Rotary Club of Oakland is the third oldest Rotary Club in the world and one of the most diverse clubs. Our commitment is service above self, which is carried out through our local community and around the world. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our 5,437th meeting in the California Ballroom and online. For over 14 years, we have welcomed Rotarians and guests to our club meetings. For those attending online, if you are visiting Rotarian or the guest of a Rotarian, please enter your name in the chat box located at the center on the bottom of the screen so that we can recognize you in a few minutes. If you have comments or want to ask a question of the speaker, please use the chat box. We recommend you view today's meeting using speaker view located at the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Now for our thought for the day, I'd like to welcome Rotarian Isa Chu.
Hi, Isa.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Isa Chu, and my thought for the day is from someone who I think embodies strength, compassion, and inclusivity. You might know her as an influencer, a self-care, self-love enthusiast. She said during an interview on NPR's Fresh Air, "You're not gonna wake up and be bigger or smaller or lighter or darker. Your hair's not gonna suddenly grow down past your knees. You're gonna look this way for the rest of your life, and you have to be okay with that." So as I move through my own journey of self-love and acceptance, I'm also reminded through her lyrics that if I'm shining, everybody gonna shine. I was born like this, don't even gotta try. I'm like Chardonnay, get better over time. She is award-winning musician and producer Melissa Vivian Jefferson, better known as Lizzo.
Thank you, Isa, for that wonderful, inspirational thought for the day. All right, please join me, everyone, in reciting the Rotary Vision Statement. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Thank you. Guests are always welcome to visit our club. Ed Jelen, on Zoom, do we have any visiting Rotarian online?
Hello, President Mary. Unfortunately, here is my list of visiting Rotarians and guests who have checked in. So I'm disappointed to say no one to announce today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, now representing you today in the ballroom will be President-elect nominee Shannon Hackley. Do we have any visiting Rotarian?
Ed, I've got it figured out for you. We have an amazing visiting Rotarian today. How's everybody? Yeah. We have Lawrence Fong and his wife Ann traveling all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Not only is he a former Interact member, he was the president of his Rotaract Club, and he's been in Rotary for 30 years. Thank you for coming.
Hi, President Mary. I'm introducing my guest, Puriya. He is a UC Berkeley student in psychology, up-and-coming, shining, big brain, and our newest colleague at Becker Boards.
Thank you.
Come, Puriya.
Yeah. Any other Rotarian, will you please introduce yourself, your occupation, and then introduce your guests?
President Mary, hi, CJ Hirschfield, journalist. I have an embarrassment of riches today, I'm happy to say. I have 3 guests of mine. The first is my good friend Susan Murnett. She's the former ED of Hack the Hood and also of our own fire collective, The Crucible. She's just retired, and I'm so happy to introduce her to Rotary. Please welcome Susan. And I also have 2 rock stars from the law firm you might have heard about, Donahue Fitzgerald. First, I have Daniel Schacht, who was recently named to Billboard's 2023 Top Music Lawyers list. Woo! I'm sorry? Yes. And new to Donahue is Maureen Duffy. She's a partner in the Employment Practice Group. Please welcome her to Rotary. Thank you.
Hello, President Mary and fellow Rotarians. I'm Anna Marie Jones, Emergency Management Consultant. We'll go with that. I am honored and delighted to introduce my friend Richard Shirk. Richard is a musician, a playwright, a video guy, so many things, but for you guys, he is also the co-founder of the Oakland group Trash Falcons. Please welcome Richard.
I'm Teresa Wyand, and today my profession is proud mom. I'd like to ring the bell for my son Luke, who's graduating magna cum laude from St. Mary's on Saturday.
President Mary, I have 2 more Rotarian guests that we have discovered. We have Frank from La Miranda Sunrise Club. Thank you for coming. And we have John from Lafayette. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
President Mary, this is Ruth Straub, insurance agent, Oakland's own insurance lady. I'd like to introduce my guest, Margaret Reeson, the vegetarian gourmet. She also makes vegan and food for all lifestyles, culinary-wise. Welcome, Margaret.
Any more? We have John Clausen.
Yes, I have two guests here. David Nabe, who's helping us with our community project at Lady College, and my daughter Stephanie Del Fiore from San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So anyway, like I said, we're all welcome, and feel free to come back in the future. You're welcome to come to a future meeting or participate in a community service project. All right, today I have the honor and privilege of inducting our 21st and 22nd new member of the Oakland Rotary Club. Will Andrew Brown and his sponsor Keith Urati please come to the podium? Keith, will you introduce Andrew with 2 interesting facts about him?
President Mary, fellow Rotarians, it is my pleasure to introduce our newest Oakland Rotarian, Andrew Brown. Andrew is the Director for Leasing for Embarcadero Capital Partners in Redwood City-based real estate development, leasing and property management company. Andrew was born, raised, and lives in Oakland. He and his wife Lily have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. Andrew enjoys spending time with family and friends and is an avid, or he claims, avid golfer, reader, and baker. And his baking specialty is cheesecake. Fellow Rotarians, join me in welcoming our newest Oakland Rotarian, Andrew Brown.
Take that cheesecake now.
Risa Hernandez has been delaying coming, so we're going to have a new Risa Hernandez by Jason Weisenberg, and he's going to introduce our newest member, Liz Luke.
All right, my friends, you're in for a treat. This one is very sharp, and you're going to see what I mean in a second. Liz Luke, the newest member of our beautiful club. I'm standing in for the lovely Risa Hernandez, who is trapped in her car somewhere. I will tell you two things which are amazing. One is, her mother is the first person in her family to have passed the 4th grade in education, became a nurse, and probably saved half of the people in this room. Incredible person. Secondly, and this is what I was saying about being sharp, this woman has an NCAA championship in fencing. So don't mess with her. Welcome, Liz.
Okay, stand here.
Wait.
Okay.
But wait, there's more. Executive Director of Living Jazz. Okay, this is gonna, I mean, we're doing it tonight, people. Okay, good job. Don't go anywhere, come here. This is for you too, brother. Tell me your name again. Andrew,
Okay,
what's your name?
the two of you guys come from good. Andrew, you can move over. Okay. All right. So, Andrew and Liz, welcome to the Oakland Rotary Club. You're joining 270 Rotarians in our club and over 1.4 million Rotarians throughout the world. Andrew and Liz, here is your red badge, which signify your status as a new member. You will also receive the 4-way test, which guide Rotarians in their daily lives as follow. You ask yourself always, whatever you do, is that the truth? Is it all fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's the Rotary 4 commandments versus the 10 commandments. So you will also, excuse me, give you a goodie bag. And inside this goodie bag is a handbook called Rotary Made Easy, which provides useful information about our club and a roster with your 272 newest best friends. Here's your Rotary pin. In your badge is the Rotary pin, okay? Wear this pin proudly, because with this pin, you can attend any meetings at any Rotary Club around the world. They recognize you and welcome you. Just like today, we welcome visiting Rotarians from Malaysia. I think we have Orinda and Lafayette, is that correct? So we come visit each other. And finally, inside the bag, you have a centennial book written our very own Rotarian historian, Linda Hamilton, covering the first 100 years of Rotary history. So your commitment as a new member is to attend meetings, participate in service activities, practice service above self, and contribute financially to the Rotary Foundation and the Oakland Rotary Endowment. It is my pleasure and privilege to induct you as the 2 newest members of the Oakland Rotary Club. Let's give Andrew and Liz another warm welcome. Okay, stay here. Okay, one more thing. Liz, as the newest member, is going to be presented with a check from the World Community Service. Well, let's move over here so you can take a picture. Thank you. So she applied her company, the Living Jazz, applied for a grant with the Community Service Committee, and we awarded her. And how timely, she's inducted as a new member of the Executive Director, and she got money as well. Nice. Thank you. All right. Now I have the, okay, Dana Sack.
in the last year, it took her more than a year, but she wrote a biography of my father, illustrated with photos from his life. It's a really great job. My father just turned 96. I didn't even have
Wow.
get that all written down. She did a great job interviewing all of us.
Okay, so Dana Sapp wants to ring the bell for historian Linda Hamilton for writing down the story. Just you, okay, name?
You think I need that?
President Mary, guests, friends, people of Oakland, thank you for being here today. Harold Lowe Consultant. I want to ring the bell for all the adults who showed up at Enterprise Institute this last month, because it's the first time we've had it since the pandemic. It was an amazing turnout, and I'm very happy and proud that you all were here. So can you all stand up? I'm ringing the bell one time, not for each one.
I'm here. Okay, Harold Lowe wants to ring a bell for the adults that participate in Enterprise Institute.
I'm going to ring the bell for Harold for putting on the Institute with having 3 years from COVID, and it was hard to do, and he pulled it off, and great job.
All right, Shannon Hackley wants to ring a bell for Harold Lowe.
I ring the bell for Harold.
Don Lamone?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I ring the bell for Harold Lowe as well.
All right, Tricia Connor, ring a bell for Harold Lowe. Tom Lamone, did you have your hand up? For Harold. All right, Tom Lamone rings a bell for Harold.
Yeah, and Enterprise Institute, that was the first time I've been, and it was really amazing to see these kids out of Oakland, from different schools, getting along, learning how to adapt, but then also learning all these skills. Anna Marie is a rock star presenter. She did incredible, but also everyone who participated, it's really a special occasion. I think we really need to put more energy and time into that and more volunteers, so let's think about that for next year.
Okay. Well, I like to add to that. I like to ring a bell for rock star Anna Marie. She did an outstanding job at the Enterprise Institute. For the new members and guests, a bell ringer is a generous $100 tax-deductible donation to the Oakland Rotary Endowment. So anytime you have something to celebrate, or you got a promotion, you got a new grandbaby, ring those bells. So, all right, at this time, I'd like to have the privilege of asking Jackson Stern to come up to give his 3-minute self-introduction.
Yeah, not wearing the spider stuff today. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you. Thank you so much, President Mary, for giving me the opportunity to speak. And great opportunity to meet the broader club, including the folks at home. So again, my name is Jackson Stearns. I am the president and general manager of the Oakland Spiders. We are a professional ultimate frisbee team. Yeah, new to Oakland. Prior to getting involved with the Spiders, my background was in youth work and community events and engagement through Parks and Recreation with the cities of Orinda and Piedmont, as well as in the nonprofit space with the downtown Berkeley YMCA. I became involved with youth work and community programs largely as a result of growing up in Oakland Unified Schools, and city-run after-school programs and summer camps at Diamond Park and Montclair. At the same time, also was doing a lot of sports, so did Knoll Soul baseball growing up, OPR swim league with Lions Pool, and eventually got into ultimate frisbee in high school when I was up at Skyline. So started playing at Skyline, fell in love with the game in San Diego, continued to play throughout my 20s. For those that are unfamiliar, allow me just a quick digression. This is ultimate frisbee, not disc golf. It's a 7-on-7 team sport. We play it on an American football field. Goal of the game, score more points than the other team. You score a point by catching the disc in the end zone. If you catch it in the field of play, you can't run with it. You have to get a pivot foot. There's lots of passes back and forth, running, jumping, diving. Super fun, very exciting to watch. Hope to see everybody at a game in a couple months. I I could obviously keep talking about Ultimate for a really long time, but the thing that's most germane to this audience is it's how I got connected to Rotary through fellow Rotarian Gary Flaxman, who, for those that don't know, yeah, we can give it up for Gary. Gary's a collegiate Ultimate champion, and so through mutual friends, started talking about spiders and Rotary, and it just felt like a great fit, right? Rotary, the work that we do in the community, the work that we do for Oakland is something that just at this time really aligned with what I'm trying to do professionally as well as personally. So I'm very grateful for the club. Obviously, I think Rotary has probably shaped my lives in ways that I don't even know about yet. As one of the oldest clubs, I'm excited to kind of learn more about myself, to learn more about our history in Oakland. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with everyone going forward. So thank you again.
All right, well, thank you, Jackson, for that Jackson, please come back. Jackson, please come back.
Oh, I got it.
That's right. So, yeah.
Fun part.
Yeah, thank you for your self-introduction. So at this time, I'd like to exchange your red badge for your blue badge. So it means you're a permanent member, no longer a newbie. Okay. There you go.
Can you fix it? Yes.
Yes. All right. As I mentioned last week, May is Asian Heritage Month. And last week we had somewhat of a controversial speaker, Mr. Nansu. But in honor of Asian Heritage Month today, we are highlighting the story of a journalist and broadcaster, Ben Fong-Torres, who didn't see a path out there for Asian America in the media or journalism, so he paved his own path. So you will hear more about Ben Fong-Torres' journey later on. This year, early in the year, we launched a new recognition, the Rotary Club of Oakland Rotary Hero Award. The spirit of this award is to highlight a Rotarian that has done something extraordinary, personally, professionally, or in service to the club. Since so many of you also do services within the club and outside the club, it is important that we acknowledge you. So, if you know of someone that deserves to be recognized, please let me know, and we will recognize that member periodically throughout the year. All Rotarians with this recognition will be presented with a unique Rotary pin. Today, we are recognizing a Rotarian who has been very generous with his time, talent, and treasure. I would like to call on Tom Lamone to present this award to the recipient. Would you do from there? No?
Here comes Tom, everybody.
Huh?
Thanks, Jason. That was very helpful.
No, you did. Yeah, and then you bring John Clausen.
Okay. Give me a moment. We had a little misstep. Okay, let's see.
That's been the theme of today's meeting.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so as Mary mentioned, we are presenting the second Rotary Hero Award, and today's recipient is none other than John Clausen. So as John's making his way to the stage, I'll share a little bit about John. It's been great getting to know him. He's been kind of a quiet member, at least to me, but he's very much not quiet. John is the fourth of 9 children and was raised in the small Central Valley town of Selma, California, about 20 minutes down the road from Fresno. At age 5, John's first job was sweeping the sidewalk in front of his father's store, and which was also next door to his grandfather's drugstore that had a soda fountain where Cokes only cost a nickel. And that's exactly the amount John was paid for sweeping the front of his dad's store. Rotary played an important role
early in his life. Both his grandfathers were charter members of the local club, and he remembers the soda fountain was where all the small local business owners, and there were a couple doctors and a couple dentists upstairs, they would hang out at the soda fountain and discuss what was needed in the community and what was best. And these people were Rotarians. John always saw an opportunity, and shortly after college, he purchased the small broom company he was working for and was able to grow the company and created one of the highest quality brooms you could buy. His national contract with Price Club supports that claim. Upon moving to Oakland, John saw the disparity with kids, especially in East Oakland, not having a safe way to travel to school, which often led to missed school days and furthering the socioeconomic gap and school dropout rate. This led him to advocate for a portion of ballot measure BB funds to be allocated for free bus passes to youth. His wife, Pam, says, John is relentless when he's passionate about something. The measure passed and was implemented for 30 years, from 2015 to 2045, and now Oakland kids can travel to school safely with free bus passes. John values education, and Peter, if you could pull up the slides. John values education, but even more than that, he sees that all young people have gifts and talents that go unused because of a variety of barriers. He also believes that we need to treat everyone with dignity and respect, which will lead to better citizens. This is why John has been an advocate for addressing food and housing insecurity at Laney College and does not hesitate to provide his delicious corn dogs at Laney events. John has been making corn dogs for almost 50 years, but he was inspired to provide them to the community when he came across a 1921 article from a local paper that highlighted the Oakland Rotary Boys March, where at the end of this march, the kids were given free hot dogs and ice cream. John has been providing his corn dogs for over 30 years, so the small gesture of providing food is impactful as an authentic display of love. John has been a Rotarian since 1986, and he and Pam Clausen are proud parents of 4 children and 6 grandchildren. And one of his daughters here, she's taking photos in the back, and his nephew, John Clausen, is a Rotarian in La Miranda, who's also here. So John, thank you for all you do and all you've done to make our community better. So John gets the Rotary Hero Award pin, one of only 2 so far. So here you go, John.
Thank you so much.
Take a picture of the pen. They want a picture of you holding.
We can come down too.
It's right there. Just there. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, Pam Clausen was a... Ring the bell for my husband. All right, ring the bell for John Clausen. Pam Clausen. Dudley, ring the bell for John. I see Karen Freeman. Ring 2 bell. Karen Freeman rings 2 bell for John Clausen. Okay, ring the bell. Lorna Padilla was to ring a bell for John. Okay, Linda Belsenecker, ring a bell for John. Vivian was to ring a bell for John Clausen. Okay, Tom Lamone for John. That's Garrett Riggy for John. Anybody else? Did I miss? Okay. Isaac for John. Okay. Isaac, did you also want to do something for a special person as well? Okay. Nima. The Nima ring for John. All right. I'm sorry. Lou Regali, excuse me, not Garrett. I take that back. Okay, thank you very much. Again, the bell ringer represent a $100 generous tax-deductible deduction for our fundraising. So, or call it bets online wants to ring a bell. Thank you for joining. All right. Now, moving from one Clausen to the next Clausen, I'd like to call on Pam Clausen to conduct the Oakland Rotary Endowment Annual Meeting.
Sure do appreciate all those donations. As treasurer of the board of the Oakland Rotary Endowment, I'd like to call the 2023 annual meeting of ORE to order. For your information, the balance in the endowment as of yesterday was $4.3 million. While still not at the peak achieved at December 31st, 2021, this is a $273,000 improvement from the balance at June 30, 2022, the beginning of our fiscal year. We are pleased that we've been able to continue to grow the endowment and support Rotary programs in a challenging market environment. We have one item of business to attend to. All members of Rotary Number 3 are members of ORE. Based on the wonderful attendance in the ballroom and online, we have a quorum for the conduct of business. We'd like to thank the following members for their service on the ORE board as their terms are near completion on June 30th of 2023. Kathleen Sims, Christine Watson, and Linda Chu. The ORE board has nominated 3 candidates for the election to the ORE board: Kimberly Miller, Steve Blair, and Carrie Hamill. These candidates have indicated their willingness to serve upon election. Are there any nominations from the floor?
I move that the nominations be closed.
Good job.
All right, thank you so much. The nominations have been closed. Do I have a motion to elect the slate as presented? And a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Sounds like we have a new board to welcome. Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.
Good job. All right. At this time, I'd like to welcome Jason Weiselman to introduce our speaker.
Well, my friends, I really think this is one of those times, and Jack McAvoy might be able to back me up, where even I can't do justice to this guy, right? He is yeah, exactly. A gem of the Bay Area, a real treasure, born and raised in Oakland, went to school here, SF State graduate, multi-award winning personality, journalist, TV personality, a beautiful singer, by the way, been married over 40 years, and really, he's going to tell you the rest. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very fortunate to welcome my new friend, Ben Fong-Torres.
Gong. Thank you very much. President Mary, Jason, the entire day is here. Is that Carl, Andrew, Riza, Luz, President Mary, all of you, new and old Rotarian, thank you very much. In a time of not a whole lot of great news, I stumbled into some the other night. On a Netflix site for fans, a writer named 15 Rock Documentaries to Watch, with the volume cranked high. Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, Quincy Jones, J-Lo, and my documentary was in there. It's called Like a Rolling Stone. It's been a year since it began streaming on Netflix, so it's great that people are still hearing about it. In the film, in the part about my being a child in Oakland's Chinatown, there's a photo that looks like me in front of my parents' restaurant, but it's not. It's some kid in front of the Silver Dragon on Webster Street. That restaurant replaced my parents' New Eastern Cafe, but the director, Suzanne Jo Kai, got everything else right, so I will not be suing. We split our time between the family flat a few blocks away on 8th Street and the Mai Fong, the rice room in back of the New Eastern. From elementary school through junior high, we'd leave school only to go to Chinese school for 2 hours, ostensibly to study history, literature, and calligraphy. Little of it sank in. It was tough enough learning English while growing up in a non-English speaking family and neighborhood. Well, as I grew up, my 4 siblings and I were stuck at various restaurants day and night. I was a pretty good student considering how we were pulled this way and that between homework and restaurant chores, between languages, between cultures. I'd find escape in Mad Magazine, in books, and on the radio. The music early on was made for adults. It was safe and soulless. But then along came Elvis Presley. I saw him on TV one night in 1956, and I was struck not only by his electric energy, but by his carefree sense of humor. From this kid who jumped from a small town in Mississippi to national TV. He had nerve, and I became a fan. But just as I was about to become a teenager and set to enter 8th grade at Westlake, something happened. My father had given up our restaurant in 1955, tried a place in Reno for a year, and now in 1957 became a partner in a new restaurant on Route 66 in Amarillo, Texas. And just as he'd taken my older brother Barry with him to Reno, he now wanted me to go along with him to be company and to help out. For a lot of people, being yanked out of junior high school would be displacement of the worst sort. I loved the thought of it, of being on my own in Texas, wherever that was, but far away from Chinatown. As it turned out, it was a world away. I was just about the only Chinese kid in Amarillo. Fortunately, my all-white classmates and I had a common ground: music. Sometimes after school, I'd go to the soda fountain where Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry ruled the jukebox and watch the kids doing the bop. It sure beat Chinese school. As much as I was accepted at school, I felt like an outsider. And because my father was constantly busy at the Ding Hao restaurant, I spent a lot of time by myself in the bungalow behind the restaurant. I'd read, I'd watch Leave It to Beaver and the Steve Allen Show, listen to the radio and sing along with Elvis. It's a cliche, but I actually did stand in front of a mirror, gyrating the way I had seen Elvis do it on TV. In fact, I overdid it. I plucked away at a ukulele that I didn't know how to play, memorized songs of his like Treat Me Nice, and then I tried out for a talent show at school. The casting committee turned me down. They did the right thing. But the experience, treated me right. But the experience told me something about myself. I wanted to do more than read and listen to the radio and to records. For whatever reason, I wanted to be on the other side, writing or being on the radio or singing. I was too young or naive to realize that Chinese parents were steering their kids towards white-collar jobs for a reason. Beyond wanting us to make the most money possible, to have the lives that they couldn't have. The reason was there were no Chinese in show business or media. But in Texas, I could dream. We returned to Oakland in summer of 1958, and I knew I wasn't going to be wearing any white collars. I wanted so much to be on stage that when a teacher at Westlake Junior High suggested that I, who had been out of town the previous year, run for student body president, I did. I knew that the duties included leading the Pledge of Allegiance at school assemblies. Wow, an audience. At Oakland High, by now my parents had purchased a modest house in East Oakland and started a restaurant out in Hayward. All of us kids had to work after school. But I managed to get involved in a load of high-profile student activities, running assemblies, DJing dances, writing for the school paper, doing everything but the normal stuff, like hanging out with friends or going out with girls or having a hobby. But I had fun. I'd use the assemblies, monthly programs I produced, as an excuse to get to know DJs on my favorite radio station, KEWB, who I'd book onto the shows. As I went into college, San Francisco State, the dreams just kept on coming. I majored in radio, TV, film, and minored in journalism. It was good that one of the KEWB DJs I had befriended gave me good advice. Gary Owens was my favorite DJ. He was in Oakland only a couple of years, scoring high ratings before moving on to Los Angeles and becoming famous as the announcer on Laugh-In. I met Gary when I got a weekend summer job at KEWB in 1961. He knew that I loved radio and that, like many kids, I harbored fantasies about doing what he was doing. Gary knew that success in radio was a difficult goal for anybody, let alone a Chinese kid in the early 60s, when the number of Asians in broadcasting could be counted, well, actually on no hands. There was one part-time DJ on an FM jazz station, Dr. Herb Wong. That was it. Anyway, we went for a walk one day, and on Franklin Street, actually, and he gave me some advice. As much as I loved radio, he said, I shouldn't concentrate only on that industry. Take liberal arts, he said. Learn a bit about as much as you can so that you'll be ready for whatever comes your way. And so I did. But who could have guessed what we were about to encounter? It was fate that transformed SF State into something special. It was the times, the 60s. It was the place, San Francisco, proud home to beatniks and topless bars alike, not to mention the occasional topless beatnik. While students at UC Berkeley across the Bay Bridge fought for free speech, we enjoyed and exploited it. I was lucky. True, I had no Asian American role models in mainstream media, but I was in the right place at the right time, San Francisco in the 60s. And whether it was the campus radio station or the newspaper office, doors were wide open. If you could do it, you did it. I got a weekly morning DJ show on the campus radio station, which had a top 40 format, and I joined the campus paper, the Daily Gator, ultimately becoming the editor. Early on, I reported not only on the Vietnam War protests and civil rights movement, but also on the emerging Third World Liberation Front and the first of a generation of young people who came to be called hippies. I remember working at the paper, feeling that we were all on an oasis of freedom, of living life the way we wanted, with no concerns, or few anyway, about money, careers, and long-term future. Many of us lived for the day. For me, college was a launching pad. At the Gator in 65 and 66, my beat was essentially the 60s. The protests, the movements, the culture, the music. Rock bands visited the campus. Bill Graham and Chet Helms came by to tack up their posters for the Fillmore and Avalon. I witnessed and wrote about it in the Gator, and that experience came in handy after a little newspaper got started in San Francisco in late 1967. Yep, Rolling Stone. I began freelancing articles for the paper in early '68, and by mid-1969, I've been hired to be an editor and writer. And when I've had occasion to look at a list of my interview subjects, I am amazed at the names. Ray Charles, Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stones, James Brown, the Jackson 5, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Al Green, Ike and Tina, Sheryl Crow, Tom Petty, Bonnie Raitt, Steve Martin, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Paul Simon, Joni Mitchell, Neil Diamond, Rick Nelson, Linda Ronstadt, am I repeating myself now? Rosemary Clooney, Carmen McRae. I've even had the pleasure of interviewing my boyhood TV idol, Steve Allen. My being at Rolling Stone also helped lead into a weekend DJ shift on KSAN, the pioneer freeform FM rock station. Later, I would add television to the mix, doing interviews on Evening Magazine. I left Rolling Stone in the early 80s, a few years after the magazine moved to New York. I kept busy writing for Parade, Esquire, GQ, Playboy, TV Guide, remember TV Guide? And other magazines. Remember magazines? Early in 1981, I was hired to write a script for a documentary film about American entertainers traveling through China, from Macau to Guangzhou. I'd be working with Lauren Green, Ben Vereen, Kate Jackson from Charlie's Angels, and others. My parents knew that if I were headed for Guangzhou, I might get close enough to our ancestral village to visit. They gave me letters and photographs and said they would write our kin to alert them of my possible arrival. I got close enough on our fourth day in China. Our troop was in a town called Shiji, and I found myself admiring a tray of dan tat, egg custard tarts. When two women approached and offered to buy me one, I was stunned. When I said, "No, thank you very much," in Cantonese, they laughed. One of them said they knew exactly where my parents were from, and they could tell by the way I spoke. I had hoped to take a side trip from Shiji to find my parents' ancestral villages in the Huiping region, not far from where we were, according to my maps. A bystander pointed to a shack across the street offering cars for hire. The next day, after a 3-hour ride, we entered my mother's village. At our designated meeting spot in town, a young man who introduced himself as the son of my cousin greeted us and got into the car to direct the driver to my aunt's house. When he spoke, I could hear an accent within the dialect, a rhythm of words that I'd heard all my life. He sounded just like my parents. We stopped on a wide dirt street, and my cousin's son led us to a 2-story row house. We entered through a blue metal door and into the dark front room where a half-dozen people were waiting. My cousin, the mother of the young man who had delivered us, stepped forward to greet me with a handshake and to introduce me to my other relatives. Before long, I had met a dozen members of our family. I wanted to absorb as much as I could, but it seemed impolitic to whip out a tape recorder or notepad. I relaxed and took in the front room. Along a side wall, several long frames held montages of photos, one of them devoted to my immediate family. There we were, in grade school, graduating high school, getting married, our life histories hanging on a wall in a house in China. Over tea, we talked about family, about their lives, and about what life was like in San Francisco. Their letters and those pictures, my cousin said, indicating the wall, that's how we stay in touch. We look at them every day and think about you. A few afternoons later, one of the show's producers, Wenda Fong, looked up and down the dirt roads of a commune. She sighed and said, "There but for fortune go I." But it was more than fortune. It always is. I once heard a comment from a singer-songwriter friend, Bob Newworth, and it stuck with me. He said, "If you don't take a chance, you ain't got a chance." In 1993, I took a chance. I was doing a feature for the Chronicle about Wheel of Fortune, conducting auditions in a Hilton hotel downtown, so I tried out, mainly for the story, but I was a fan of the show. After a few rounds of variations on the wheel game, I was one of maybe a half dozen who got picked to go to LA. We paid our own expenses, and back then, the winner of each night could return with a maximum of 3 appearances. So we bought changes of clothing. Most of us wouldn't need them. We sat in a contestants section in the audience, waiting to be picked. My ping pong ball didn't get selected for the first game, and this woman, Melissa, won. And then she guessed the final puzzle, 4 letters, person. No letters showing. She guessed, was given 3 consonants and a vowel. She did all of that, nothing. And so she faced a blank tiles and Vanna and said, "Baby," and she won. Diane freaked out when I got picked to go up against her. We had agreed that if I won one puzzle and covered our expenses, the rest was gravy. Even though our Audi was on its last tires and we could use a new car. Anyway, I won the first game and it was smooth sailing. Yes, it is different up there in a large studio with all the lights and the audience screaming and facing Vanna White. At home, it's just you and the TV. Standing there, you've got two others trying to kick your bowels, it can be tense and you can get brain locked, which I did. But I won all 3 nights and got several terrible prizes that I gave back because you have to pay earned income taxes on whatever you win and keep. So in the end, I did win a car and a watch for Diane, a fancy CD player to give away to a community organization, and enough money to pay the taxes on those items and on the cash itself. Diane took over the Acura, and all I have is my little name tag. Just as I have a hyphenated name, I have had a hyphenated career. It would have been easy sticking to journalism and staying in print, but as I've said, I always enjoyed performing. So when radio came along, I jumped. I was a DJ on the pioneer rock station, KSAN, while working at Rolling Stone. It was at KSAN that I got a phone call that changed my life, that led to my wife, Diane. You will have to see the documentary on Netflix for that story. Ditto TV. From 1997 to last year, I co-anchored the Chinese New Year parade on KTVU, all because of Rosie Chu, the station's community affairs director back then. She suggested me. I had 3 co-hosts over the years, won 5 Emmys, and had a tremendous time doing live TV 2 hours a year. Easy gig. In 2002, I took on the role of a record producer for a Chinese-American crooner named Larry Cheng, who was known as the Chinese Frank Sinatra in the 40s and 50s, as part of an all-Asian cast at the Forbidden City nightclub. It was Larry's first album, and it turned out to be his last. He was 82 when we made Till the End of Time, and he died just a week after a CD release party at the Chinese Historical Society Museum. The songs on Larry's album were hits before my time, but now I'm singing them in his place at luncheons at the Berkeley Senior Center, whose members include a number of people who are friends of our family back here in Oakland's Chinatown. There are full circles everywhere. That album with Larry Cheng was produced in the recording studios of San Francisco State in 2003. In 2003, I was named Alumnus of the Year and tossed into the Alumni Hall of Fame. I also delivered the commencement address in 2005. On that speech, I tried to be optimistic. If I could do it, so could you, I said. But it's easier said than done. In recent years, especially because of the coronavirus and Trump, we've had some dark times. My own world has changed as I lost my 3 remaining siblings all in 3 years. The Chronicle dropped my radio column, which I'd done for about 15 years or so. KTVU switched to a new anchoring team. It's not easy stumbling toward age 80. But Diane and I have each other, along with our rescue cockapoo, Marley. I'm still on radio on moonatlasradio.com. I've done a lot of on-stage interviews recently, ranging from Cheech and Chong, Amen, and Alanis Morissette, to Asian American writers like Ava Chen and Soon Wiley. And in a week or so, at the commencement exercises for San Francisco State, I will be conferred an honorary Doctorate of Fine Arts degree by the California State University Board of Trustees. Thank you. The president of the board is a person I mentioned a while back, Wenda Fong, who was with me in China for that TV special, Full Circles. And when I accept this great honor at Oracle Park, I will mention how my parents wanted me to be a doctor and not a disc jockey. Well, Mama and Baba, I'm a doctor, finally. Thank you very much, Rotarians. Thank you.
All right. Mary, are we doing questions? We're doing questions?
Yeah, wait a minute. Okay, we're gonna do maybe 5 minutes of question, then I wanna show you a trailer of his Netflix documentary. Okay, so first person at the podium, Ben, we have 5 minutes of Q&A.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the talk, Mr. Fong-Torres. I just saw a wonderful movie called Chinatown Rising about the intergenerational situation in San Francisco Chinatown and the SF State protests and SI Hayakawa, et cetera. You grew up in Oakland Chinatown. Would you compare and contrast at all the Chinatowns? Is there anything to know about similarities, differences that would be interesting to us?
Thank you. There's no comparison between Oakland and San Francisco Chinatown, much as there's no comparison between the two cities. The Chinatown over in San Francisco was pretty much Asian, American, and Chinese center of the world, pretty much, outside of Hong Kong. Oakland was a small town. It had a Chinatown, but it didn't have the museums, the culture, the wealth of restaurants, entertainment spots. There was none of that in Oakland. So we were really a simple residential neighborhood with a good number of grocery stores and other businesses, but no, if there was a protest movement, I missed it. But especially in the early 60s, it was all going on over in San Francisco, born of the beat scene and then the hip scene, and of course the politics, a blend of San Francisco and Berkeley more than Oakland. Thank you.
Isaac?
Isaac Koss-Reed, Chair of the Public Image and Communications Committee here, and your story about being moved by music really spoke to me. For me, it was Cuban salsa, and I'm just curious, how do you discover new music, and how do you discover new music?
Oh, just like all the kids. Your radio no longer has that much of a part of my life. I'm mostly streaming. I'm checking out new music on Pandora and Spotify and Amazon Prime and a little bit, not so much Apple Music, but there's a wealth of music. And on satellite, a long time ago, I decided I was tired myself of commercial radio, emphasis on the commercials. And so I hooked up with XM, which became Sirius XM, and there's a wide world of music there, much more eclectic than you would ever find even on the old days of underground progressive rock radio. So that's where I find music. And also on TV, you watch a show like right now, Love and Death is on, and the theme song is a version of an Animals song I liked a lot, Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, but it's done by the incredible Nina Simone. And I remembered hearing it. Oh, of course, Nina Simone did record that. I saw her documentary, and yet it has escaped me, and it was brought back by way of television. So you never know. On the other hand, there's also a commercial right now for a home repair app that helps you figure out repairs for you in your bathroom, and the woman who is singing, "We fixed this toilet on video," as opposed to "We built this city on rock and roll." So, wonderful new music is available to you.
Dr. Ben, thank you very much for your presentation. One area I think you left out, because for many years, one of the first things I would do Sunday morning would pull out the pink section and go to the gossip column about all the local radio and perhaps TV personalities. What happened, and why did that column disappear?
What happened was what happens to a lot of employees at companies. A new manager comes in, new administration, new boss, new owner, whatever it was. A new person came in and had meetings to talk about the various elements of the paper. And I was told that radio waves was dropped because there wasn't enough action on the digital side. People were reading the pink section and reading my column, but nothing on digital. And I should have thought to tell the guy, you know what, you don't feature me on the digital side. I'm hard to find. People have to do a word search of my name or radio waves to get it. So I thought it was kind of a weak reason to drop. But in the ensuing years, they have dropped almost all of their columnists. I think it's a money thing. They don't want to pay freelance writers. And if you look at the date book today, on a daily basis, there are maybe 2 or 3 stories. In the pink section, there's almost no advertising. There are certain weeks where there might be 1 page. And so it's tough times in all media, traditional media. And so us old guys often pay the price.
Last question.
The last question.
Thank you so much for being here. Although you've done a lot since then, I can't help but always think of you as an icon for the Rolling Stone as editor, writer, and then memorialized, of course, in the movie Almost Famous as well. What do you think of the Rolling Stone these days? And piggybacking on what you just said about journalism, you know, it's a tough time. Where can we get really good, where do you go for really good interviews with artists and really good journalism about
Well, you know, at age 78, I don't have as great an interest in being a Swiftie or following along with Gaga or BTS or any of that stuff. I hear that music almost, like I say, on TV or on satellite incidentally. So I'm not searching for the new stuff. But in terms of writing, Rolling Stone was sold by its founder and publisher, Jan Wenner, a couple of years ago. It is a different magazine with the same core, but the fact is that its standing is no longer in a unique position in media. Rolling Stone at one time was the only game in town for what it offered in terms of coverage of rock music, other music, and the culture. Now, everybody is covering all that stuff on all media platforms. So Rolling Stone is now just one of many. And you know, as the generations of readers get older, they were not replaced by a similar number of people to fill in the circulation figures. And so that leads to less advertising, that leads to it being sold, that leads to it being one of a number of similar magazines on a newsstand. You have to go online to the Medium or just to Substack or to any number of places to find good writing. I still see it in the New York Times, the New York Times Magazine, and New Yorker, but they are fewer and far between, sadly. Thank you.
Well, if you will indulge me and maybe give me a few extra minutes. Peter, could we pull up the trailer for the next flick?
Ben Fong-Torres with you, or without you, on KSAN, the Jive 95.
This guy, he's got some history, Ben Fong-Torres. Well, I used to read him in Rolling Stone.
Ben Fong-Torres, immortalized in Almost Famous.
This is Ben Fong-Torres. I'm the music editor at Rolling Stone magazine.
Before the internet, before blogging, before tweeting,
Hello, Rolling Stone.
there was the Rolling Stone. There were superstars who worked there. One of the biggest was Ben Fong-Torres.
Ben Fong-Torres polishes his piece on Jefferson's Starship. Everybody read Rolling Stone magazine. Mick Jagger read Rolling Stone magazine. John Lennon read Rolling Stone magazine. And so everybody knew Ben Fong-Torres.
Hi, Steve. How you doing, Ben Fong-Torres?
Oh, I'm great.
See you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Ben Fong-Torres. Thank you, Paul.
I was 23 years old when I started writing for Rolling Stone.
There was nobody who was Chinese American or Asian American doing anything in printed media. And yet I wanted to be out there.
Are you going to quote me?
Everything you said so far. So what makes you laugh?
Arguments. Whenever I hear an argument, I laugh.
I kind of gravitated to people who were in some ways marginalized. Having come from my background helped to direct subjects and the way stories were done.
It was like something that made me feel like because I was black, I could never be or I would never be. Maybe I'm a Taurus or whatever, it just made me fight.
Ben was writing something, I was inclined to go with it because he was coming from where we were coming from.
He had a lightness and gravitas at the same time, which I've not succeeded in replicating.
Here we have a picture of Ben.
He's one of the great writers ever. There's some good ones, but not as good as this guy.
You do a wonderful Bob Dylan.
Now, that was a Dick Clark production called Your Big Break, and they had me doing what else?
Like a Rolling Stone.
So you were an important part of my career. Oh, I want to thank you for it. How so? I'll make up something. Just keep going.
Okay, so great. So you can. So check your Netflix channel and find his documentary, like The Rolling Stone, The Time and Life of Ben Fong-Torres. So Ben, thank you for this incredible, inspiring presentation you did. Education is my area of focus for this year. The Rotary Club of Oakland is proud to partner with Oakland Promise to offer 8 $10,000 scholarship annually along with mentorship. We are proud to support many as the first in their family to attend college. In recognition of your presentation today, Oakland Rotary will make a donation in your name to the Oakland Promise to support its kindergarten to college program for every child in our city. Thank you again. Would somebody get a mic to Ruth Stroh? Could you tell us about next week's speaker? Oh, good.
President Mary, I'm very excited to announce next week's speaker. We'll be having the macro program speaker, Elliot, will come and tell us about how Oakland is fighting crime with a social justice by decriminalizing mental health and addressing the needs of our community. We look forward to seeing everybody there, and please bring a friend.
Thank you.
President Mary, we had one more bell ringer online for John Clausen. It was Ken Benson.
Ken Benson will ring a bell for John Clausen. Okay, with Keith and Liz and Andrew Brown, please proceed to the back of the room so that the Rotarians can greet you on your way out. So at this point, I'd like to thank everybody for this meeting, and please remove your trash and your personal belongings so that we can clear the table. So, share, means thank you everyone. This meeting is adjourned.